It's up to you.
What's that here? I'm sorry, I was talking in Dutch.
All right.
What did you say?
We're live now. Okay.
Okay.
So, good morning and welcome to The Arts, Artists and a Brand Image. Our panelists today are Moti Abramovic, Bernhard Bauhofer, Cees Krijnen, Bertrand Freiesleben, and Stuart Semple. So I'm going to introduce each one of you individually before your presentations. But my name is Laura López Paniagua, and I'm the chair to this panel. Thank you for being here today. So I start. In 1936, Salvador Dalí attended the first surrealist exhibition in London wearing a diving helmet. He sat among the other artists while they presented the show and slowly started to appear restless and shake in his chair. Minutes later, his restlessness had become frenzy. He waved his arms violently in the air while the crowd laughed, amused by the spectacle. Though it looked like another of Dalí's stunts, in reality, he was suffocating. When he finally liberated from the helmet, he uttered, "I just wanted to show that I was plunging deeply into the human mind." So sometimes developing your brand as an artist can be a very dangerous affair. It seems appropriate to start with Dalí because it is often forgotten that he was arguably the first artist who understood the power of building a brand in contemporary terms. He self-promoted blatantly. He cultivated his status as a celebrity figure and worked for commercial brands such as Chupa Chups, Lanvin, and Playboy. Nevertheless, though he is still one of the best-known artists of the 20th century, his commercialism did him no favors regarding his perception within art history. While he is tremendously appreciated by the crowds, he is widely dismissed as a mere populist by many experts. His success clouded his quality as an artist, so to speak. So I'm truly honored to be joined today by two experts in branding, Bernhard and Motti, and three artists, Cees, Bertrand, and Stuart, some of whom have been involved in very public controversies that may have helped them to build their brand, hopefully not as extreme as Dalí. I am hoping to learn from you because I don't know much about the topic. In fact, branding and in general, any reference to commercial endeavors is taboo in the visual arts. I am a writer, curator, and educator, and have worked in different capacities in the field of art for about 20 years. Within art education, a direct approach to the business aspects of professional art making is rarely contemplated. Also, the structures that lead artists to a successful career in terms of gallery representation, exhibitions in prestigious venues, and commercial success are very opaque. Artists seem to be required to be successful spontaneously, without ever applying any conscious strategy to achieve their goals. And artists like Jeff Koons or Damien Hirst, who brazenly reveal and profit from the art business, are heavily criticized. So as our host suggests, would positive branding destroy our image of the artist as a free creative? Businesses employ brand creators. Do artists? How can a young artist develop their own brand image? What distinguishing features would a brand creator highlight? And I'm going to start by introducing Bernhard Bauhofer, our first speaker. Bernhard Bauhofer is the founder and CEO of Sparring Partners, a company which specializes in corporate and personal reputation management. After studying sociology and economics at the Ludwig Maximilian University, Munich, he worked in all disciplines of communications and branding in Europe, South America, and the USA for over 20 years. Since the year 2000, he has been pioneering the corporate reputation management discipline in Switzerland and Europe, and his unique methodology encompasses all reputation drivers, which have to be managed in the relationship with multiple stakeholders. Apart from a reputed management consultant and speaker, Bauhofer is also the author of several book classics like Reputation Management and Respect, and lately Corona, Insights for Life. It's very interesting, by the way. So please, go ahead, Bernhard.
Oh, thank you very much, Laura, for the introduction. I feel very privileged to talk to artists. I'm I'm not a professional artist, obviously, but I feel very comfortable in being with artists. So I do have some connection with them automatically because I admire how they live and how they and their approach to life. As you said, I have extensive experience in building brands and saving brands, corporate brands as well as personal brands. And I think when we talk about terminology like brand building, brand awareness, brand recognition, and brand assets, this sounds very technical to an artist. But I think an artist intrinsically and intuitively knows exactly about his or her brand. I think he's the best, she or she is the best person to guide and lead and define the brand strategy. Yes?
Yeah, I lost the name.
In general, he means in general, the artist.
The artist in general.
Okay.
They are the best one, of course, when it comes to brand communications. They should have support from professionals, and now we have all the communication channels, and we do have social media, which I think is a fantastic tool for artists to get known and build their brand. But at the same time, I think when it comes to branding, it's about a signature. Even Goya in the early days knew how to brand himself. He was going against the establishment long before Jeff Koons was monetizing their brand asset. He was very well known, Goya, how to go against the establishment. And I think that's the specific position of an artist. He should be outside the establishment. So managing a brand to obviously economically to monetize it is not really going well with an artist. I think the artist has to be outside the society and be not function as a business. So my approach is reputation management. It goes just beyond the sheer concept of branding. We are seeing now these days that everybody has a reputation, and a reputation means is the importance of managing expectations of stakeholders towards your person. In the case of an artist, it's a curator, it's a client, it's museums, it's the peers, the art world. I think it's very critical these days when we see that Russian oligarchs like Bertrand, for instance, are supporting art. And I think each artist has to ask him or herself if they want to be associated with somebody who is supporting a war, right? So there are reputational risks for artists. Or we're looking back when you not only go for painters, but we go into music. Big celebrities were performing for oligarchs for receiving hundreds of thousands or even millions for a 5-song gig. So that's quite, it's interesting from a monetary point of view, but when you talk about the reputation of an artist as not being able to be bought in speaking like so, I think it's very, very risky to run this business. So to sum it up with respect to the topic of our session is, yes, you can have a brand support building your brand. At the same time, you have to listen to your inner voice, to your soul, and your personal vision as an artist of how far you want to go in building this brand. And of course, one has to make money. One cannot live until you are dead, that somebody else will reap the fruits you were seeding. But I think it's a very careful way to manage professionally your brand and reputation, and make business out of it, and at the same time not lose your identity and your soul.
I agree.
Wait.
I was very fortunate. I don't want to sell my art. Definitely not. We had family money.
This is good.
Please allow me to interrupt you. I'm sorry. If you agree, first we make all of our presentations and then we start the discussion. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm already taking notes about everything. Please do as well. And then we continue with the discussion among us. So our next speaker is Stuart Semple. Stuart Semple is a multidisciplinary artist, curator, and activist. His artworks often touch on community and connection and deal with sociological themes. He works across painting, sculpture, technology, performance, and happenings. Recently, Stuart founded Giant, a new publicly funded gallery on the south coast of England, where he directs the program. As a broadcaster, his documentary for Radio 4 on hostile design was nominated for a Radio Academy Award last year. His works have been presented at the Denver Art Museum, Fed Square in Melbourne, Barbican, ICA, and Whitworth. He is perhaps best known for using the internet as a performance space through his work, disseminating the pinkest pink and the blackest black paint. Hello, Stuart. Welcome.
Hello. Nice to be here with you. Thanks for having me. I will share my screen and show you a few things that I found. But it's an interesting topic. There's a lot of... how do I do it? No, this one. Okay, hang on. Where is it?
You just dropped it.
The button.
No, but I just saw something.
Okay, don't worry. Okay, here we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, right. Let's ignore that.
Got it.
Okay, here we go. That's all right, isn't it?
Yes. Anyhow, yes.
Okay, cool. So, really interesting topic. I've obviously been making art for 20 years and I've been lucky enough to collaborate with some really big brands as well. But I'm not going to go into... Oh, why is it playing it? That's not very good, is it? Sorry, everybody. I'm not very good with this. Let me try again. Okay. So let me see if I can do this in a few minutes. So the question is, how can a young artist develop the brand in their lifetime? Do artists employ brand creators? Does positive branding destroy the image of an artist as a free creative? I believe a brand is simply a holder of ideas. It doesn't actually mean anything. It's a vacuous kind of holder of stuff. So all of these logos, whether you're thinking about McDonald's or Nike or whatever, they stand for something else. They're symbols of something. So they're kind of empty. If you think about the transition of McDonald's over time, it's really shifted from being a sort of family-orientated place to lately being to do with sort of good farming methods and kind of almost a health brand. And Nike, if you think about it, has been synonymous for many years with a certain kind of idea of go-getting and activity and stuff. But what we think about brands, whether we're talking about Miro or Picasso or Damien Hirst, is a sense of differentiation, a sense of uniqueness. The artist means something. It stands for something wider than it is. It's like a pointer to the work. So that for me is more than the work itself, of course. So if we think about Banksy or Jeff Koons, I'm talking about the name of the artist themselves as a brand or as a personal brand. Obviously, the work, the style of the work can become synonymous with the brand in its own right. But I don't want to focus on that. I think we're talking about the personal brand of the artist, i.e. the image of the artist themselves, the name of the artist, not actually the work. So I want to talk a little bit about that and how you develop the work or the brand of the work. And of course, we can think about people like Ai Weiwei, Jeff Koons, David Hockney, Andy Warhol, and they all have strong symbols of their work, don't they? They all have very strong symbols of their work, whether it's Hockney's. Sorry?
I was talking to myself.
Oh, okay, mate. Yeah, that's good. Anyway, so the idea of developing the mark.
Excuse me, Stuart. I'm sorry. Gentlemen,
I said it's very interesting.
Okay, cool, mate. Well, that's good.
Okay, it's impossible to turn off the microphone, so while others are speaking...
I'm getting there. But what I'm trying to say is that developing this sense of style or your own brand is something that can be thrust upon you, okay? So what I'm trying to say is that the galleries and the curators and the market itself are very keen to establish a brand. And when I curate a show, perhaps at my gallery, I'm really thinking about how I do the artist justice in terms of like their story and what they want to convey. So in a way, they haven't employed me to be a brand maker. But what I'm doing is I'm making sure the audience connect with their work. And therefore, through that process, we establish something called fame. And when you have fame around an artist, what happens is there's a sense of brand, a sense of what they stand for. And many of my friends decide to make a very different type of work that, of course, doesn't fit with what they're perceived to be as a brand. And that kind of holds them in a way. And I think that's really interesting. So I think artists can very deliberately construct their brand, and we see that in people like Jeff Koons or Damien Hirst, of course, Picasso, and they carefully cultivate that kind of brand image in cohort with their galleries and dealers and publicists and things. I've never really done that. My work's just kind of evolved and always moved, so it's never really stayed that static. But why I think that matters, though, is when it comes to commerce, of course, because collectors, auction houses and institutions need to back things that are winners. And I find myself falling into this trap as well when I curate shows in the gallery. If I get a big brand named artist in the gallery, all of a sudden I get press and I get visitors. So it becomes a self-fulfilling cycle. I could go on about this all day, but I don't have very long, so I'm just going to summarize very quickly. How can a young artist develop a brand in their lifetime? I think by being consistent. You would have to develop some sort of fame around your person, not just the work, which would then support the work. Thinking of yourself as a sort of persona or a container for an idea. Do artists employ brand creators? Not that I know of, but I think that they do unwittingly in the terms of commercial galleries who are absolutely aware of their reputation. And does positive branding destroy our image as a free creative artist? It depends what the brand is. I mean, you might be a very cool, very connected, community-orientated artist, and that might be your brand, which might be much better than looking like an over-commercialistic artist who's just out to kind of get the money. So if you're thought of like someone like Kerry James Marshall, very credible painter, a lot of respect for him at the moment. It's a lovely brand to be. We all want to be him at the moment. So that's my kind of end of the thing. How do I end it? No. Yeah, so hopefully there's some ideas in there. There's quite a lot.
Bravo. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Very interesting. We continue. Our next speaker is Moti Abramovic. Moti Abramovic, Master of Science and Master of Business Administration, is the owner and CEO of Bruno Art Group. As CEO since 1995, Motti has accumulated considerable knowledge in the fields of gallery management, curation, and artist representation. Under his leadership, the group has expanded significantly from one gallery in Tel Aviv to an international force in fine art. Today, the Bruno Art Group has galleries and offices worldwide, and its artists exhibit in prominent art fairs. The list of artists represented by Bruno Art Group includes masters Yakov Adam and Marcel Janko, alongside promising contemporary talent. So, Motti, welcome. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Laura, and thank you for having me here. Good morning. I'll show with you a short presentation. So, as Laura mentioned, we present mainly Israeli artists abroad. The Israeli market is quite small, so we face the issue of branding every day while introducing Israeli artists to different markets around the world. So, as we all know and we just discussed, every artist, except of creating the artwork, has in the back of his mind the need to brand himself and his works, and his ideas. So from many years ago, artists had this in mind. Fortunately, today they have the social media, and it looks like it's much easier to brand yourself. I want to split the way of branding into two main categories, which of course they are not black and white and they merge into each other, but of course there are artists that branding is it looks like their main activity, and some artists tries to come up with a totally new, different concept, and hoping to create a brand with the new ideas or concepts. So as I said, what we call brand-minded artists, trying to focus and make sure that their voice is being heard in all sorts of ways. And as I said, the technology helped them. And we all know about recent artist Banksy, who hides his identity and destroyed one of his works. So it looks like all kind of ways are legitimate to work on your brand. In our opinion, a very interesting artist is, of course, Murakami, who started his career by studying 80s Japanese style paintings, but then he felt that he needs to create a change in the Japanese culture and created what brought the Japanese symbols, the anima and the magma tradition into his art, and then heavily collaborate with big brands like Louis Vuittons and others to create his to brand himself in his art. And of course, the other part that we declare that we believe in are the concept-minded artists that really make an effort to bring to the world of art a new message, a new concept, a new way of thinking, and build their brand. I would say slowly, but maybe more steady. And the example that I would like to present is, as you mentioned, an artist that we work for many years in our group, who is Yaakov Agam. He's 94 years old, and is considered to be the founder or one of the founders of the kinetic art movement. His first show was in 1951 in Paris, and he brought a new message to the world of art that is changeable, of art that can be touched and moved.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We have 1 more minute for your presentation, so please go ahead.
Okay, I'm done. So this is an example of art that his brand is being built in 70 years, one step at a time, and less using the social media, which of course he uses, but not as many others. So I don't know if you were able to see the presentation or just heard me talking.
We just heard you talking.
Okay. So I hope that I can I spread my message well.
You did.
You did.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Fantastic. Okay. So next, our next speaker, and I'm sorry, we're running out of time, is, oh God, now I'm having trouble. So please, guys,
Okay.
connect your microphone. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Cees Krijnen. Cees Krijnen is a Dutch artist. His work is profoundly autobiographical and comprises performances, installations, photos, drawings, and paintings. In 1999, he won the prestigious Dutch art prize Prix de Rome in the discipline Visual Arts and Theatre with a reality project named Financing My Parents' Divorce. This resulted in the woman. I know.
Perfect. Very good.
This resulted in the Woman in Divorce Battle on Tour, with exhibitions and performances in New York, London, Paris, Lucerne, Milan, Montreal, and other cities. For this project, he cooperated, amongst others, with the Fondazione Cartier and the Italian artist Michelangelo Pistoletto. We're running out of time. I'm really sorry. This is my problem. Okay. So, Cees, please go ahead. Welcome.
I will, as brief as possible. My brand was a bit forced. My brand is my mother, and the reason why I had to help her. She was involved with a divorce battle for 17 years. And what could I do? I'm not a lawyer. I'm an artist. So I said to my mother, I want you to put on a pedestal, and I want you to feel good, and what do you think about that? And she said, okay, let's do that. Well, in the end, I really won the Prix de Rome. And my mother and I went on a world tour for 10 years. And it was wonderful to help her, but also to set her mind on different things. So my brand is my mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, how closer you can get.
Yeah.
My brand is my mother, and she's my biggest proud. And please look at my website. And my mother is 81, and she's still fucking beautiful.
It
really is.
Hold it upright, yes.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Cees. So our last speaker today is Bertrand Freiesleben. Bertrand Freiesleben studied sculpture at the Murakami Academy of Fine Arts and Design in Kiel. He relocated to New York City, where he worked as a conceptual artist till 1992. Back in Germany, he studied both history of art and philosophy at the Freie Universität Berlin till 1998. The same year, he received the Grand Prix of the Academy of Fine Arts of the Institut de France. After the completion of his studies, he taught compositional analysis and surface geometry at the Institute of Art History at the Freie Universität Berlin until 2005. In 2000, he was invited as a guest professor at the Université Paris 8. Freiesleben works only from live models, as we see behind him, and for the past 2 decades has been devoted to sculpted portraits. Artistically, he follows the analysis of Naum Gabo, Kandinsky, and Richard Serra. Hello, Bertrand. Welcome. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Hello, you all. Hello, folks. It was very nice hearing all your contributions. I right now going to share my screen to get you access to my presentation. So here it is.
Thank you.
Now I see you. This is okay. Anyhow, so I don't see your reaction. But you see it, don't you?
We see you.
Okay, yes. Perfect. So as my name is Freiesleben, which means translated in English, free life, I thought when I had my first, when I began seeing all the ambiguities in life and in society, well, I should make an art brand that kind of works with irony on the whole thing. And so I in allusion to the World Wildlife Fund, I developed a World Free Life Fund. And so I took as well the logo, and as you see with the trooping the colors here, this is kind of a beauty while dropping individuality. So this was just, don't want to talk too much because the time is running. It doesn't. How does this work? Okay, this is me in my first solo show. This was 1991 in New York in 560 Broadway, where the Dino DeLuca building now, on Prince Ecker Broadway, corner Broadway. And when it comes to branding, it is more like, on the one hand, you have the brand, on the one hand, you have the image. And this is a kind of, you want to say something, and that what you place actually is not the same thing what you mean. It is just the form of what you think you have said. And then there is the spectator who is looking at this, and how big is the overlap of understanding to the one what is meant. And so my whole work was concentrated about what is perception, what is, how does communication work? And I was so much interested in really understanding. And this is the main question I have in my whole life, in my whole art life. And so in this exhibition, there was pending down from the ceiling, this envelope. It was so high in the air that no one could reach it. And there was written on it, "The sublime is inside." And this is basically my most important work. Because this showed me what I really wanted to discover: what is inside, what is the search worth it. And so I started to search the sublime in portraits. While I was these days very contemporary and around in New York and with all the gallery scene, now I started doing this.
I love this work, by the way. I really
me?
like it.
That's really good.
Yeah, we're
anyhow, let's continue. The time runs. So this, I just give you some examples. Ting, 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 ting. Okay, so this is Kurt Masur. This here is a bust of Claudia Abbado. This is Berghain, Bouncer, Sven Marquardt. This is our former president, and so on. I'm pretty successful in this surroundings. But as you see, all I really am interested in is not high personalities, but who is this? What kind of soul is inside of this? What kind of personality do we see? And who am I to this personality while making a portrait? And who is he or she for me? And sorry, my presentation is not very. So the next one.
Your presentation is perfect. Don't worry.
Thank you. So, and then it happened 7 years later. Later from the show in New York, I won this Grand Prix de l'Académie des Beaux-Arts de l'Institut de France. And this just juxtaposed me in the position, had I been a contemporary thinker this early days, now I was regarded as totally backwarded. And as if I didn't understand what art today is. And this was the reaction on my work the following years. And so I don't work with any gallery now, and I made only 4 shows in the last 20 years, and I never sold via a gallery because the art world denies access to the context, to the contemporary context, as long as you do portrait sculpture.
I understand.
And this has a certain reason. I could go much deeper, but I show just the obvious reasons, which is this. Where Hitler and Stalin or Mao couldn't be themselves, they had to be placed up in a kind of ideologic abuse of our subject to give this representation. And of course, I understand that art world was fed up with this.
Is this real?
Yes, this is real. This is a weird, real thing. I'm really sorry for that. So anyhow, yeah. But this is to understand. If you touch the subject of portrait sculpture, you have to touch it differently. You really have to be able to show it is not to admire a hero, but it is to appreciate the subtleness of a human being, the sublime of a human being, and that any person is worth to be looked at. And I really wanted to know better. I wanted to understand, as I said, with this envelope. And so I got much deeper into understanding form in general. I'm a sculptor and I wanted to know that form. So this is...
Okay. I'm really sorry. Bertrand, I'm going to interrupt you because I'm actually afraid that we're going to be cut off.
Okay.
And I would really like to take some questions from the audience, and if you want to talk among each other, that's also a possibility. Audience,
can I have just one, just like 10 seconds more?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I go into surface research that leads me to new conclusions, and now I'm going to present a kind of notation of spatial form as I found a new analysis made. I claimed a patent right now, and this is going to be a new earth art, showing kind of essential what is form or how is form built in kind of combination of sublime and analysis. So.
Okay, brilliant. Bertrand, thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. And so now, I don't know, I'm not sure, I don't know if people are sending us messages or not, because unfortunately, I'm not very acquainted with the software, but please, if you would have some final conclusions or some final comments that you would like to add to the discussion, this is the moment. And audience, if you want to intervene and send a question, please do. Christina, I think that you're trying to say something, but I don't see it. Can you talk? Okay. Yeah, that's it. I'm giving you the mic, Christina. Can you
ask the member of the panels how much freedom has an artist to be selective about the collectors or the sponsors of their respective shows, because there is a reputational risk related to the artist, a reputational risk of sponsors. You have explained a little bit earlier, Bernhard, about the oligarchs collecting contemporary art. So thank you for expressing your views about it.
Can I talk upon this? I've come across it in a few shows. Over the last couple of years, one of the really big things is big pharmaceutical companies, particularly dealing in opiates, sponsoring institutions. And a lot of artists, contemporary artists, have sort of shunned those organisations. And I've turned down a couple of shows that have been sponsored by BP because I don't like things that hurt the environment. And that's hurt my reputation. I mean, I haven't been in big shows I could have been in, but I think it was important for me to sort of do what I believed in and not support that stuff. But a sad thing is when a collector's reputation changes over time, because you may have sold work 10, 15 years ago, and you can't control what they're going to do now. And obviously my work is in houses I wish it wasn't in. And that's very sad. I have no control over that.
Okay, Christina, thank you so much for your question. Now I see the messages. Somebody else wants to intervene? Okay, some final thoughts from our speakers today before we are disconnected.
I found a really interesting line in Andy Warhol's diary where he said when he gets home, he loves to take his Andy off. And I think it's a really interesting thing that he puts his brand to bed before he goes to sleep.
Yeah, that is very true. And also, as I said in the beginning, so Andy Warhol was taking many of his strategies actually from Salvador Dalí. And I thought that it was very, very interesting what you said about so your advice to younger artists who are building their brand, of thinking about themselves in terms of persona. That's exactly what they were doing, both Dalí and Warhol.
Maybe artists should destroy their brand, deliberately, because they shouldn't be predictable. They should be against the establishment, and they should surprise. So I think just destroy your own brand. Let's start all over again.
Fantastic. Are you sure that you're not an artist yourself?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, it's fine.
I think we're going to leave it at that. Thank you so much to our audience today. And thank you again, Motti, Bernhard, Cees, Bertrand, and Stuart. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. Fantastic.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you for meeting you all.
Sorry, I'm back right now.
Persons. Great.
I'm back, and I missed all the discussion, did I?
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Oh, this is so
You were definitely there.
Thank you very much, everybody. Hope we can meet in person soon.
Yeah.
Is anyone, sorry, excuse me, is any one of you staying in this room together right now? I would
well, I'm not alone. But
can any one of you summarize me up what happened, right?
Rise you up. What do you mean?
Well, I didn't get the discussion. I was off like 3 minutes or 5 or anything.
Oh.
Yeah, I just after my presentation, I lost the connection, and so I didn't follow up anything. So,
okay. So I will give you a summary. But for now, I'm going to take Christina's last question, if I can. Because I don't know
of course you can.
No, I don't know if the software allows me. Okay, Christina?
And I would like to stay and explain to you, because it was my question. So if you want to. Thank you. And thank you all. It was very interesting to me, at least. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Lovely to see you all.
Thank
I
you.
need to get to my studio, so I'm going to say goodbye. But
thank you very much, all of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Laura.